Where are you taking me today?
You know what? Let me just give you the tune first. A story a day. I'll take you to Kiambaa. How's that? Kiambaa. Are you with me?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Kiambaa, we are good.
Yes.
Kiambaa.
Yeah. Growing up.
The man from Kiambaa.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know, we grew up in a...
This is a direct extract from Through My Eyes.
Yes. Yeah, there's
The early childhood.
early childhood.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
You remember.
Grab the copy of the book, by the way.
Oh, it's a great
So
book.
that when Jeff tells these stories,
Yes.
you at least
Yeah.
already know a few things.
You can refer to
You
page.
can refer page.
Yes. So, you know, we grew up in the village. It was literally, it was a village. And then our house was probably one of the few stone houses at the time. My mother's car was the Beetle that you read about in the book, was probably the only one at the time. So it was, you know, back then it was a typical village.
The beetle in Luo is called Opuk.
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 Why?
Opuk for you understand?
And it looks like.
That is the way that car is called.
And by the way, you know Senior Chief Nange? You know the school, right?
The school, Senior
Memorial,
Chief,
yeah.
Even Jaguar went there.
Did he really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. So it started off as a all-girls school. Yeah, it was called Senior Chief Konange Memorial Girls High School. The day it was opened, it was built right outside our house. Like literally 100 meters from our house. We saw it being built in
Is
the
your
early
house
70s.
still there?
It's still there, yes. But we don't own it anymore, but it's still there. I'd love to go back at some point, to see where I grew up. So anyway, this is the scene, right? My mother is working for this Christian NGO, NCCK, which is now called National Council of Churches of Kenya, right?
Of Kenya.
Back then it was known as National Christian Council of Kenya. That's what it was known as back then, NCCK. That's what I knew it as growing up. And she was a housing officer with them, and for many years she did that. So one of the jobs she had was welcoming Christian missionaries and Christian folk coming to Kenya and the region, and finding them housing and all that stuff, right? And then they'd stay here 2-3 years and then leave and go back to wherever they came from. So a lot of the time she would have access to things that they wanted to leave behind. Like when expats are leaving and they sell, most of the stuff in their house.
These things that are always announced.
Correct.
Lady owner. One lady owner.
With A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
So one day, my mother drives home, and in the company car, which was a pickup, she had a pickup, and in the car were 4, count them, 4 bicycles.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bicycles.
Yes, for Shiro Wangoi Kunang and myself, all of us. Man, Jalas, you can just imagine bicycles in a village. You become king overnight. I mean, we got friends that we never even knew popping out of the woodworks. Because, kids riding bikes in a village, you can just imagine that picture. So we would ride them in the house for long, to ride them in the house, and then we got bored of riding them in the compound. And of course, my brother and I would venture out. You venture out, and the village kids are running after you. They're running after you. They want to ride. They want you to hip hop. They want to double on you. They want, they want to feel what it's like to be on a bicycle. So, me being the people's person, I would, often lend them the bike so that they could feel it as well. And one day my mom was driving in as a friend of ours was using the bike. And when we followed her into the house afterwards, she said, she choppered us, man. Choppered us. She says, if you lend this bike to these people, they will break it. And what are you going to do once this bike is broken down? And I said, no, it's just a bike. What are they going to do? How can they break it? It's just a bike. So obviously me, Mikichwa Ngumu, I didn't heed the call. A few weeks later, I lent the bike to one of the guys. Sure enough, he slams into a pole and the bike breaks. Your metal.
Yeah.
Ikakatika. I said, oh my God, who's going to explain to my mother that I lent this bike to someone and they went and broke it? So mom came that night, and I wanted to be silent and say for a long time. I didn't tell her. And one day she actually asked me, "Hey, aren't you guys riding your bikes anymore?" And I just said, "No, we're a little tired now. We'll do it sometime. No problem." In the meantime, we're in Kiambaa. Banana Hill is about 2 kilometers away, right? And in Banana, there was a welder. We used to, when we were passing by Banana Hill, there was always that shop where there's a welder. And you could see, this. I had an idea in my mind. Hey, man, this bike could be welded back. But I couldn't carry it 2 kilometers from home to Banana. I mean, it's crazy. So I decided one day, here's the story now. At home, we had old stove, right? Like a jiko. Old jiko that was placed very conveniently on the coniferous hedge. We had a huge coniferous hedge surrounding our house. So this old stove was placed in a corner of the hedge because it wasn't being used anymore. The old jiko had it finished its use and it was just placed there in the hedge. And I remember it was New Year's Day. I can't remember the year, either 71 or 72. I decided, you know what? Instead of taking the bike to Banana to be welded, maybe I can weld it myself. Right? All I need is a very hot stove. Right? Hot stove, you stick a piece of metal, let it get to boiling point or heating point, and then stick it on the bike, and the bike will be welded. This is my thinking here. So I said, stove, we have one. Makaa, we have. So I told the workers there, I said, listen, just light this ordinary jiko because I need this makaa to put on the stove. By the way, the stove is still on the hedge. I haven't brought it out or anything. It's literally on the hedge, and right on the base of the hedge. So once this makaa heated up, I took a shovel, grabbed the makaa, went and put it in the stove. The old stove by the coniferous hedge. Would you know what happened immediately? The coniferous hedge caught fire. The coniferous hedge caught fire, and now it's huge. It started small, and then all of a sudden, because coniferous, it's dry wood, and the whole hedge was on fire. And I panicked, and I ran to the water tap and filled a pail with water, and I threw it on the hedge. Nothing. Fire's lighting. It's going crazy. Now the workers are looking up, and my sisters and brother have all come out the house and say, "What's going on?" And then guess who else came out the house? Mom came out the house, and she saw the hedge on fire. I'm not talking about the burning bush. This was the hedge on fire. And she came out, and she was screaming and yelling, and all of a sudden, boom, she fell to the ground. She fainted. And there I am now. I've set the hedge on fire. My mother's come and she's collapsed. I've probably led to her death now. She's probably had a heart attack. I was panicking. The villagers now have come running. Now they're running with pails of water, sand and soil, trying to throw onto the fire. It is raging. It's crazy. Mom is on the ground. Villagers are screaming. Everybody's trying to direct each other. Yeah, do this, do that. I'm telling you, just what seemed like an eternity later was probably maybe 10, 15 minutes. But it seemed like hours. The fire was finally put out, but smoldering. A huge hole in the hedge of this, private house that was in the middle of a village. Now there's a huge, ugly hole because this idiot decided that he had become a welder overnight to put makaa on this old stove. So anyway, the villagers are now trying to revive Mom. They throw water on her, tap her up, and she wakes up. And then they lift her and they take her into the house. And it's like me, when I was out there, I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna die today. I'm going to be killed today. Not only have I set the hedge on fire, I've made this woman faint.
Broken the bike, set the hedge on fire, and made her faint.
Yes, I'm going to die today. So after all was said and done, at the end of the day, this hole was still there. They put a mabati just to cover it for the time, and that part of the hedge, never recovered. Every time we would pass there, you could see the burnt out. You could see it was a shell. You could see that there was an incident here. Right by Senior Chief Kanagi, you could see it right outside there. But the worst part, Jalas, the worst part is that the next day, Mom didn't say a thing. You know, you'd rather she beat you up and get it over with, right?
Yes. Yeah.
She didn't say a thing.
Second day?
Didn't say a thing.
Third day?
Didn't say a thing.
A week later?
Nothing. No mention. I was dying inside. I was saying, is this a delayed response? Maybe I'll, be beaten up real big later
planning for your death.
For the big one.
When did she later speak about it?
I think it was much later on. After I tried to apologize profusely, it was much later on. Jealous, but I think even the silence was enough to kill me. The silence alone. But I'll never forget what I did that day, trying to be Mr. Smartass and lighting up the entire hedge. What a story, Jealous. That is what we call a story a day.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jelano.